Are you finished? Okay, alright. Hi guys, my name is Milan and welcome back to another Tokulook, where this time we'll be doing something a little bit different. I did do this technically in my first video where I looked at what was it called? The Ichigo vs. Show movie, but we're doing a separate video about this. So this time we are looking at the Gavv movie called The Invaders of the Candy House. Now, I am in the UK, so I had to research this. So there is a candy house, and there's also a gingerbread house. They're kind of interchangeable, but for the time I'm gonna call it the Candy House only because in the movie they make it not out of gingerbread. Mainly they use other different types of sweets, so we are gonna call it the Candy House. I am not Americanized, okay, let's calm down. Anyway, that is not what I'm trying to do today. We are talking about the Sun movie. So yeah, let's just get straight into it. It's quite a short movie, I will say that. Is unfortunately because we have to tie in with the Super Sentai slot, which is only 30 minutes, which is a whole nother problem, but it's fine. This movie is amazing, so I think there's nothing else for me to talk about other than the movie. So we start off the movie with Shoma and Sachika just wandering about. Suddenly a random guy appears with some type of liquid coming out of them. You know, it looks like they're bleeding, but it's not blood because, you know, it appears blue. It's not the most gruesome part we see in this movie, I can tell you that. But anyway, Sachika and Shoma are trying to investigate. However, they are invaded by some random guy who is wearing they have like some scythe, okay? And Shoma's trying to help out. So they attack this, I mean, we don't know who they are, but they attack this thing and defeat it. But unfortunately, the person that was bleeding out, unfortunately, died on the spot. As that happened, Shoma got sucked in to a parallel world. We see that some kind of door appears with this item that Sachika was holding, and Shoma gets sucked in. And this is where we then start off this journey of Shoma trying to figure out where he is. First thing he notices is that he appears next to someone that is wearing the Happy Parade outfit, and he's wondering, okay, I think that's the first thing to look out for. So he goes inside the Happy Parade and he sees Sachika, but it's not the one that we are used to. She clearly doesn't know who Shoma is, and I mean that's the pattern that we are going to see in this movie. Shoma is not home. This is clearly a parallel world, and he's trying to understand it little by little, the differences from his own world and the world that he is in now. One of the main differences is that he meets his siblings. One of them being Shita, who is supposed to be dead, obviously, as we've seen from my videos where I discussed the previous episodes. But Shoma is trying to interrogate them, saying, "Hey, what are you guys doing? Are you trying to make more ingredients for the dark confectionery?" And they just look at him like, "What?" They're just extremely confused because we find out that this stomach family is a little bit different. They're trying to investigate the human sweets, which is ironic because obviously, if you know from the show, they used to be a confectionery shop. So they are actually just doing what they were supposed to do without the involvement of humans being used as ingredients. So it's kind of interesting to see a non-hostile stomach family in that regard. This is where we also see Rakia, who is in a butler outfit. He got the trip though. But anyway, he is helping out Shita and Jeep as their butler, and you can clearly see that he's not having any of it. But I think he's mainly doing it for the money. And Shoma asks him, first thing that comes to his mind is his brother Komo okay? And he gives him a massive smile saying that he might be a friend of Komo, and you know, he's just happy that there's someone with him, meaning that in this version Rakia is not seeking revenge because Komo is still alive again, because you know all the stomach family shenanigan is not happening. So props to Rakia, but we can clearly see that Rakia doesn't want to be here. He's just trying to get the bag, as we, you know. We also see Hanto. Now look, as if it couldn't be obvious enough, he's an Uber Eats driver, okay? This guy is literally has the green bag, all right, like the green square bag. You can't tell me otherwise, okay? He's an Uber Eats driver. The guy delivers some fried chicken to Glotta, yes, that Glotta, and she's just enjoying herself. and we can also see Hanto's just like having a call where someone's asking for like toilet paper. Again, obviously not how Uber Eats works, but regardless, he is in my heart an Uber Eats driver, or whatever you guys have in your country. Okay. Now, I forgot to mention, when Shoma does go into Happy Parade and is speaking to Sachika and Taorin is the person that he meets in that outfit, he also has a Gabu. It looks a little bit different though from the one that we are used to. It's grayed out, and I think it has like blue on it as well, but yeah, it's very different, but similar to the one that we know that Shoma has. And Taorin is trying to investigate what that is for because he has amnesia. He doesn't know what he is doing here. It appears as though he may have escaped from somewhere. Okay, like we find out that Sachika just found him laying on the floor, similar to how Shoma first lay down on the beach when he fell down to earth in the first episode. And yeah, Sachika took him in and he's been working there since, and he's clearly enjoying himself, but obviously doesn't know what he is, doesn't know what his purpose is, and he's trying to figure himself out. So I don't know what is going to happen. Now, this is where I'm going to talk a little bit about one of the main things that is shown in this movie, and that is the fact that Shoma goes to the sweet shop where his uncle worked in the regular world. Instead, it's actually a confectionery shop, but not like a sweet shop. It's more like a bakery, and we see his mom. Obviously not his mom from his world, but it's a parallel world, and we see a young girl who is the daughter of this version of Shoma's mom. And we can clearly see that again, because all the stomach family shenanigans didn't happen. We see a world where his mom could live a happy life, and she has a daughter that she can live happily with. And, it's emotional, because obviously Shoma didn't want any of these things to happen, right? Like, we had this whole segment in my previous video where he is happy about the life that he has. He doesn't regret the times that he's had with the people. Like, he wants to carry on living his life because he sees it as a massive privilege. But at the same time, he regrets that his mom didn't get to have the same life, right? She died for him. And it is interesting to see how, again, this version of Shoma's mom is just enjoying herself. She's handling this bakery with a daughter and has nothing to worry about. So it's weird, man. I feel extremely sorry for Shoma, but he's being really mature about this. Like, he wants to see himself in that picture, but ultimately that's not what should be happening. He needs to investigate what is going on. Also, ultimately, he just wants everyone to be happy in this world. Everything seems to be way better than where he came from. So he just brushes it off. He just buys some sweets from the till, and then he just disappears. Again, it hits you, especially knowing what has happened to him throughout the show. But I'm just happy that Shuma was able to sort of move on from the situation after seeing him, see all of this in front of him. Now, back in our own world, we see that the gang, I'm not going to say that again, the group is trying to investigate what is going on, and we see that Sugar actually had other research matters. He was looking into other entities other than the Granules. So we see that these things are called the Muters, okay, and they are able to destroy worlds as some sort of enjoyment, okay? They investigate the different ones and then they just destroy them. It's just nothing that interesting in that regard, right? And we see the main villain called Caries, who then transforms into Caries C1. Now, I don't know how the Japanese do dentistry, okay? Fun fact, so his forms are based off the type of cavity that a tooth has, okay? C1 means that there's a small cavity. He will then, spoilers, I'm not talking about the movie, but he's going to get a form called C3, which means that the cavity is a bit too intense. You might need a root canal, or you might just need that tooth taken out. But regardless, it's quite interesting how they're handling the forms in that regard, because his forms are based off cavities compared to Shoma, where his forms are based off food. And again, we see that Caries, he's fighting, he's quite a threat, but he's unable to hold his form for a long time. We see that the main problem of this villain is that he's like too strong, and he's unable to keep the form for long because the Gavv is not like an organ of his. They are things that he receives from research from his subordinate Kulop, Klop. I'm just going to call him Klop. But he always gets extremely upset because he finds out that the form doesn't last long and he wants Klop to make a better one. And that's why Klop's just like, what the fuck? Like, this guy just has not had enough. Now, in the meantime, Shoma is trying to help out Taorin regain his memories. So he thinks of ways to make Taorin remember, and he realizes that when Taorin ate some sort of sweet, he had a bit of it felt like a glitch, you know, like he had some sort of like memory spasm. And Shoma said, okay, let's make a candy house. And we just have like this whole segment of them like making food. Again, Shoma is unable to make food again. He just makes a massive mess in Happy Parade. And yeah, they make this thing, and you know, they have like this back and forth, Taorin and Shoma. You know, Taorin feels extremely out of place. He feels like, yeah, he can relate to no one because obviously he's in this unique situation. And they come to like this conclusion, you know, Shoma's trying to support him. He says, no, we are quite similar. We can relate to each other. You know, we're not alone in the situation. And there's something to note of because Taorin will actually say something similar to Shoma later on in the movie. So yeah, it's just nice bonding time between the three of them in a way, even though it's mainly between Taorin and Shoma. Now, after they ate this diabetes, okay, they create two new Gochizo. Shoma creates the sweet Gochizo, I think, and Taorin's the one that makes the Hexenheim Gochizo. I'm gonna call the name of it now, but yeah, that it's called the Hexenheim Gochizo. And yeah, I'm just saying that now because we're gonna see it later. Okay, so this is when it happened. I just put it in the notes so that because again, Shoma is trying to make Taorin remember. They just have like a scene where like Shoma is like brushing his Gavv, and he's like, "Hey, just brush it here, bro. Just brush it here." I just had to know that. I thought it was kind of funny. So, like I mentioned, Carries wants a massive increase in production for these Gavs, and as a result, we see a lot of Cranyuds and humans are being kidnapped. And in that scene, we see that Hanto is trying to get away with his bike from these muters, and he falls on his head and falls asleep. And this is when we get the summer movie intro to our future rider, now obviously our current rider, but
Impact. Listen. Good morning. Impact.
Baku appears. Okay, he's pulling the Glock. Okay, and yeah, he's just showing off. Okay, he's just auto farming. He turns into Impact and he turns into Stream. I don't know why I did that, but yeah, he's just showing off, and he basically tells Hanto that he's an agent that fights inside of dreams. I will say though, in that fight, he does a lot more cool things than I wish appeared more in the show itself, but limitations, you know, like there was like a scene where Baku literally just like flipped like a whole land in half, like he just like squashed the monsters. Again, I understand production wise it's just not feasible to do all this every time. There's just to show off the power that Baku was able to produce in the dream world, but again, just something to know of. I thought it was pretty cool. But yeah, then Hanto wakes up, and that was just enough of that. We can talk about the show another time. Now, we find out that Sheeta and Jeep actually get kidnapped. Again, we see that in a parallel world, Sheeta and Jeep are still bums. They can't even defend themselves. But regardless, Lango finds out about this, and instead of not caring, he actually sends out all of his familiars to make a massive search hunt for Sheeta and Jeep. again, we see the parallels where Summer family actually cares about each other, which is kind of ironic. And in the meantime, while we see all these people being kidnapped, Shoma happens to pass by the bakery shop, and he finds out that his, the parallel world mom got kidnapped as well. So he's trying to cheer up the daughter. He's saying, I will find your mom. Okay, I will make sure that everything's okay. And this is what, like I said, Taurin has this whole conversation with Shoma. Shoma lets him know that that is his mom, but not the one that he knows of. He tells him about what happened to him in the past. Taurin tells him, hey, don't worry, man. I know this is rough, but I can fight with you too. I'll do my best. And it's a nice conversation that they have between each other, just like this bonding time that they have, where Shoma, acknowledges that he's not the only one. Obviously Hunter and Raki are not there at the moment, but he has someone that can fight with him. He's not alone. Okay, this is when we are slowly moving into the later stages of the movie. So Shoma and Taurin find this massive candy house, and Taurin is slowly remembering his past and the layout of this place especially. And we have this whole scene where Shoma realizes that, because again this whole place is a candy house, that everything in there is edible. So again, Shoma, I don't know why you need to prove to us that you are the fat bastard, okay? Again, you can't compete, okay? Anyway, so while Shoma is just enjoying himself, Taurin says, I think I know where we should go. And they go inside of the lab, and we see a lot of Gavv similar to Taurin are just laying about, okay? They're just hanging in this lab. And we find out that something is going on. Something sketchy is going on, okay? And Taurin looks into the computer, finds out where everyone is being locked up, and, they saved them. But Shoma then says, wait, we haven't saved everyone. There are still the children that were in front of the candy house that were in all those white robes. So Sachiki says, okay, let me just take all the, escapees with me, and you guys go search after everyone else. And this is when we have a massive showdown. So Caris appears, and he basically says that he is extremely annoyed that everyone escaped, and he went as far as to destroy the whole place. Which is outrageous, because he actually killed all of the experiments that were in the candy house, including the children that were in the white robes. And the club is upset because basically these were all research subjects. And this is when they tell Shoma the truth, because they refer to him as the original. So the truth is as such. The muters were investigating Shoma's powers because they saw him while they were traveling into different worlds, and Caris was quite interested. So Klopp then used his research by extracting the DNA of humans and the Granute to create these organs, the Gavv organs. And this is when we basically find out that all the children there, including Taurin, were basically breeding stock to make these Gavvs for Caris. Now, I'm not gonna lie, that's not the worst thing that we find out in this movie, but just that in itself is a bit outrageous for a movie, especially for a children's movie. I don't know how Toei got away with this, okay? But yeah, I don't know. I remember watching this movie. I remember actually hearing things about the movie because a friend of mine watched this in Japan. But yeah, editor. Anyway, I was just like, what is going on? So yeah, we just see they will basically use as breeding stock to make these girls for Caris. Just a lack of respect for all of this, and we see that again, Granutes and humans were kidnapped to fulfill this criteria. Just, I mean, this is the parallel world of what the Stone family was technically doing, right? But in a worse way, basically, because Caris was just destroying worlds for fun, right? Some family, these was, I mean, they were still killing people, right? But not to the extent of destroying the whole world. They were just doing it for business. So regardless, they were both bad people. I think Caris is a bit worse in this scenario, but that's just me. Anyway, Shoma's not having any of this, and he obviously has a massive fight against Caris. And Taurin wants to help out too. He tries to use the Hexaname Gochizo but is unable to transform. I don't really know why. I don't know why that was never justified, but he does transform into a monster form, and this is when he tries to help out Shoma, but it's looking a bit ropey. It's looking a bit ropey for the two of them because Carey is not holding it back at all. He's not. He's extremely furious. He's just being a bitch boy. But anyway, before we get to the main thing that happens, I will just mention that Hunter and Rakia are in our world are still investigating how to get into whatever Shoma went. Basically, we find out that if that person is in a powder world, they just need to touch the card. So all they did was, I think it was Rakia that touched Hunter or whatever, and they were able to open the door. This is when Rakia and Shoma and Hunter, see themselves, their powder world parts, but obviously they don't want to interact with each other while they transform, so they transform, help them out, and they're like, get to safety. So I like this funny exchange because Hunter's like, that's me? And Rakia's like, yeah bro, that's you. So I thought that was pretty funny. Okay, and this is where we get into the most outrageous part of this movie. So Carey is heavily interested in Taurin because he finds out that he's extremely unique for all of the experiments that have been made so far. As far as to literally rip out his Gavv in front of everyone with blood coming out. And again, I'm just going to ask again, how did Toei get away with this? It doesn't matter if the blood was blue. Okay, that means nothing. Did you actually know that our blood is blue? For fun fact, okay? It's just because of the way that we perceive it with red. But anyway, that's besides the point. Editor gonna correct me anyway. But as far as I'm aware, our blood is blue anyway. So how is Toei getting away with this? Like the guy just boinks it out like this. Like anyway, he puts the thing on and manages to transform into his C3 form. And this guy is just letting hell loose at this point. He's able to rot anything that goes in his way, as far as to reach out to Hanto and Rakia, who are like way further away from Shoma at this point, right? And yeah, it's not looking good because even Shoma can't do anything. And we see this moment where Taurin and Shoma are having a conversation as Taurin is, dying in front of him. And Taurin says, just defeat this guy, make sure that people can still smile, and, just do your thing. And Shoma is extremely upset seeing this. I mean, he spent this entire time with this guy who was trying to find himself, only to find out he was just being used as a livestock and just being killed right in front of him. It's just outrageous, I'm saying that a lot, but it's ridiculous. This guy couldn't even enjoy himself. And Shoma is just furious. Alright, he finds Hunter and Rakia and he has a massive outrage towards Carey's. Carey's like, oh, you guys are still here? Okay, can we just finish? And Shoma's like, I wish he could swear, because I feel like in this moment he'd be like, fuck off, But Shoma again is having none of this. He's like, I am going to prove to you that what you are doing is wrong, and I'm going to protect the happiness of not just Taurin but everyone else that deserves it. And again, they just triple henshin. Okay, we have a triple transformation. I love it. Alright, and this is when Shoma uses the sweet Gochizo, okay? And what it allows to do is it summons this gingerbread house thing, right? And it allows Rakia and Hanto to utilize some of the forms that Shoma has used in the past. So Rakia is able to use the Zaku chip swords, which is pretty cool. Hanto fills in a car with the popcorn Gochizo and it just flings out into everyone. We also see a form where a part where Hanto uses the stomps, the feet for kicking Gumi, and he just kicks that about onto the enemies. Pretty cool. It looks odd, I'm not gonna lie, but it's pretty cool. Okay, and yeah, they're just having this massive fight off, and that is where we debut the best form in the some movies that I've seen. Okay, like, cause before this we had that got chart form. We don't talk about that. So we debut Hexenheim.
Tori, 一緒に戦って。
Using the Gochizo that Taurin left behind, and this form is so cool. I'm not gonna lie. First of all, design wise, I will say this because I don't think it's been talked about much, but a lot of his forms, they slowly make him look like his dad, right? Like, especially in Hexenheim, sorry, like you can see like the horns on his head, which obviously resembling his dad's horns, right? So I think that's kind of interesting to know of. But that's just besides the point. Again, we have like this purple blue form. Massive fan of purple forms, alright? So that's just already like a thumbs up from me. But again, the form just looks great. Alright, it's just, and Shoma doesn't care at all at that point, okay? We have like this massive fight where he takes carries up top, or like whatever happens, but they're like falling from a building, and then we have like this fight inside of a car. So cool, man. Like, Shoma is just not holding back at all. He's inside of this car, he's just like beating him up and stuff, and Carrie's just like, what the hell? I will say though, one of the few things that helps out Shoma in this fight is that Hexenheim allows to sort of heal the rot that Carries produces, meaning that he's a bit more vulnerable. So that's a bit of a plus in helping Shoma beat up Carries in his fight. And yeah, I will just say that this fight is just incredibly cool. Alright, I'll have to mention like the finisher that they have in this like courtyard. So in the last stretch of the fight, we see that Shoma's like in his like inside of his mind, right? And Taurin just like holds on to him and says that we still got this, and they just like, we see like a shot where they're like punching together. So that was pretty nice, like a nice callback to Taurin. And the finisher, oh my god, because they could keep doing the finishes with their Gavs, and in the final one they do like this really cool kick. Like, the animation on this are just incredible. I'm not gonna lie. I know my editor's gonna have a field day with this because I know he loves this film. So, just whatever I'm saying, the editor will highlight it way more than I did, because again, this fight is just beautiful. And Carries dies. I will say though, one thing that I forgot to mention, because Klopp, where the fuck did he go? So, before, I think it's just after Carries attains his C3 form, Shoma is losing, right? He's basically falling onto his back, but someone holds onto him. And we see the Stomach family are lining up behind him. And obviously they don't know who Shoma is, but they say that they are extremely upset for kidnapping Sheeta and Jeep. And we just see like this, because they're not transformed, like just in their like human disguises, they beat the heck out of these juters. Like they're on a big frenzy. And it's pretty cool, right? Because for the most part, we don't see a lot of the Stomach family like fighting per se, so it's just nice that we see them do that, especially because we know Glotter likes to fight a lot. We see Neov is using like his arrow. We see like this combined attack with Glotter and Sheeta and Jeep, where like she like pushes them on, and then they just like fly off to like defeat more users. Pretty cool. Just forgot to mention that. Just like again, like it's so weird for Shoma to like be experiencing all these things, because obviously he's just had not a good time with his family in the real world. But again, what can we do? This is just the harsh reality of seeing this parallel world where things could have gone differently for Shoma, but it's fine. For again, Shoma finishes off carries, and he is slowly leaving everything behind. You know, he sees, you know, this version of his mum see her daughter again, and he's just looking there in the background, and you know, the mum then notices something, but she looks out and he's gone. You know, it's just unfortunate, right? Like, this is what Shoma would have wanted for her, but it's not what happened. But at least he's able to witness a reality where it did happen, right? And he then has a conversation with this version of Sachika as well. He tries to cheer her on, you know, obviously after Taonin died, saying that, you know, he's still here with us, because this has been left behind, showing the Hexen in Gochizo. And then Hunter and Rakia make their way with Shoma back into the real world, and this is where we end the movie, except for one small thing. In the credits, we see, because we see it in the scene where Klopp is investigating human and granite DNA. Klopp actually slashed Shoma's mum during the research, which I think might be the reason why we have a lot of these like Gavv organs, because I think they're related to Shoma's mum in this world. Just something to note of. We see in the credits, like, because the daughter says, "You know, mom, you shouldn't be getting attacked all this time." And we just see like a scene where Klopp just slashes this version of Shoma's mom. So yeah, that's that. I mean, yeah, that's the movie. And I will say again, this movie is probably one of the best movies that we've seen in a long time. Okay, like, I don't have like a top 5, but I will mention like other movies that I've liked a lot. Is 01 Real Time. Ed is just looking at me blankly because he hasn't seen the movie. I will say the Gocha movie is pretty good. I know I've said my piece about Gocha, but that movie's pretty good. Okay. What other some movies though? I mean, the X-Men movie's alright. Anyway, so yeah, sure that ending song's good. Anyway, just give me a thumbs up. But yeah, this movie is probably my favorite Sun movie that Toei has produced in a long time, and I hope you guys can enjoy it, because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what I say. You should just watch the movie yourself. So let me know what you guys think, and I will see you guys in the final stretch of Gabu. Henshin. I think it's supposed to be a gingerbread house, but I looked up the reference, like, yeah, we're just doing some project thing. A half an hour. Thank you. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, we'll put it back to. Yeah, that's fine. No, I'll let you do it. It's fine.